For tonight's video, I put together a list of all the topics we've covered so far that are going to be on your midterm. So this is kind of like your study list. So for Unit 1, we started off with our algebra review. We graphed linear equations and inequalities. We wrote equations in slope-intercept form and standard form. Don't forget your rules in standard form. We simplified polynomials. That's like combining your like terms, adding and subtracting, different trinomials, and foiling. We went over our exponent rules, and we worked on simplifying radicals. So, simplifying square root or cube root. And that also goes with, taking the cube root of something to the fourth power, working with your exponents. Then we got into quadratics. We did a lot of graphing. You need to know your domain and range. That is very important for all of our graphs. With graphing, we had to talk about our axis symmetry and our vertex and our y-intercept. Those are very important to be able to graph. Then we talked about our standard form, vertex form, and intercept form. We had a foldable with all of those forms on it. You need to know those. And then we talked about solving quadratics. So we did quadratic formula and factoring, and we also solved by graphing. And then lastly in our quadratic unit was quadratic regression. That was where we took our points and graphed them on our calculator and found our line of best fit for our points. So you need to be able to look and see if it's a linear regression or quadratic regression. See which one fits closest to your points. Alright, Unit 2, we did exponential functions. We obviously did a lot of graphing. We know our domain and range, and then we solved them. We had different ways of solving exponential functions. We would solve by finding common bases. So that's kind of like 81 times 9 to the x, equals something. We have our common base of 9. Right? We solve by using logarithms, and we solve by graphing. Right? Solving by graphing was taking our 2 to the x equals 19, and we set one half our equation in y1 and the other half in y2. So we have y equals 2 to the x, y equals 19, and we find our intersection. In Unit 3, we did our systems of equations. We had linear and nonlinear. This is where we introduced the circle. We solved by graphing, substitution, and elimination. Remember, in nonlinear, we did not use elimination. So nonlinear equations, we did graphing and substitution. We also solved systems of inequalities, and we did those by graphing. So remember your shading. Wherever your shading intersects, that's where you have your region, your solution region, not a point. In Unit 4, we did additional functions. We had 8 parent functions. We had 4 that we already knew and have already worked with, and we had 4 new ones. You need to know your domain and range and all your transformations. Those are very important. All right. You also need to be able to look at your equation that you're given and tell the transformation just by looking at your a, h, and k values. And then we moved into piecewise functions. You need to be able to graph it. You need to be able to, if you're given f of 4, be able to plug in 4 into the correct part of your piecewise function to get your solution, or your answer. And then we talked about step functions, and the main one we talked about was the greatest integer function. So you need to know where your open and closed circles are, and which way it's going, and remember we only transformed vertically. And then Unit 5, the only thing we're going to talk about from Unit 5 on your midterm will be distance and midpoint formulas, and then finding a portion of a distance. So finding a portion of a distance is finding, a coordinate that's 2/5 of the way of your line, or finding the ratio, finding a coordinate that fits the ratio 2:1. Right? So you guys study this list, go over your homework, and you can come in and look at your quizzes and your tests. Review everything you've got, go over your notes and your foldables. We made quite a few, and you guys should be good to go. All right, see you tomorrow.